All right. So when I was growing up, I had a little bit of a different home than some of my friends. And you could attest to this because, we've known each other since we were 6 years old or even before that.
Mm-hmm.
But my father bought a house and he basically built it. And a lot of homes are like this in Toronto, but he built it into multiple units, right? So we rented out the basement. We had a main floor that had like one bedroom, and then there was 2 floors up top. And so they were split into different apartments. Now, what happened was, like, over time, we would live on 2 of the 3 apartments at any given time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Top and mid, bottom and mid, like whatever it was, depending on the tenants. And so for the most part of at least the high school, years or whatever it was all carpet,
Mm-hmm.
So you'd enter the house. It was carpeted. The stairs going upstairs to the main living area were carpeted. And then it would cut off right as you get into the living room into like tile, right?
Right.
And so what happened typically is like we would take off our shoes at the bottom of the stairs, which were carpeted, right?
Yep.
However, there was something about the carpet that mentally left the whole family thinking, well, this is perfectly fine to walk on with shoes, right? And so what happened is I was living in a hybrid shoes on, shoes off situation at my place.
Right.
And I know this is a touchy subject because there are people in the world that are straight up, wear shoes off.
Oh yeah.
And we're shoes on here. So you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And so it was difficult for me because like you'd go up the stairs and you're in your shoes. You're like, whatever. I'm just going to go to the kitchen real quick with my shoes on. My mom's not going to care. Right. Type of living situation. But now, like, with my wife and stuff, like if those shoes aren't off, pal,
it's big trouble, eh?
Yeah. It's like you get smoked from afar, a snipage too. You know what I mean? Like someone can catch you. So like, what did you grow up with? And then let's talk about like, what are people rocking now? Like when you go into people's houses?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was the latter in that story. Like we were like a hardcore shoes on house. I mean, obviously outside of the, outside of the obvious being like crazy slushy and snowy or super duper wet.
Oh, yeah, wet.
That was just sort of understood, especially if there's a party.
Now parties is different.
Like I legit, like I won't even go to a party if it's a shoes off party. I actually legit went to one in the summer, got there, looked around and said, what's the sort of scenario here? They said, it's all good. It was in the summer, so it's relatively dry anyway. Yeah. And it was sort of a house jam ish. I mean, we're old now, so we don't really do that. But then I was kind of like tooting around and this and that. And then eventually the one of the owners was just like, Hey, wait, what are you doing? What are you wearing your shoes for? And I was like, oh, I was told it was all good. And they're like, no, just over in that back room or something like that. And I was like, all right, I'm out. I bounced. I was like, how are you going to talk to somebody seriously wearing socks? Like, like you're just looking at this guy in the face and he got socks on.
Yeah. There's a lot of judging taking place on socks too, eh?
Yeah. You just feel like, I don't know, like a kid or something. Like,
well, think about it. Like, also think about it like this. First of all, I have a huge opinion on parties and shoes on, shoes off. But imagine this. We're going to a party, you and your date, all right? Boy or girl, partner, whatever it is. Typically, when when you're going out on a date or if you're going to meet some friends at their home, you dress up or you're not looking like,
not a schlub.
You're changing your clothes. Yeah. And with changing your clothes is putting on a certain pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Right? For example, like women, they'll wear a dress. They're like, oh, it's the summer. I'm wearing a dress. I'm going to put on some heels or whatever it's called. Right?
Yeah.
Wedge, whatever it is. Somebody to make them taller, basically.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
And nice calves. It makes their calves look really good.
Got to have calf.
Yeah.
And basically, like now think about it. They're coming to this party, and the second they walk in, they have to take off their heels and they're barefoot. Right?
Oh yeah.
And you're just kind of like, why did I even wear shoes? Like, it defeats the purpose of dressing up or a part of that outfit. And so I think if you're throwing a party, a modern day party where like there's going to be a lot of people in the house, you're a shoes off person, you take the hit, man. You take the hit for that party.
Well, because as you said, like, it's like, what's the difference between me wearing my heels or wearing Crocs? if that's going to be the point, you know what I mean? If you're just end up taking them out and you're going to be in your bare feet anyway. And one of the most important points is that it's like you're doing a cleanup afterwards. Like that's in the cards.
Someone's going to spill something for sure.
There's spillage. There are bottles, cans, hors d'oeuvres, little nappies.
Someone's going to drop a shrimp.
Dropping shrimps, dropping sauce, all that whole nine, right? Yeah. And so you're like, you're going for a sweep and a mop at 0800 the next morning. You suck it up and you take a little bit of grime so people can enjoy themselves. I'm sorry, but I just can't get on board with anybody who has a shoes off party. And I'm sure there are people out there listening just fuming because they are those people. But again, from my experience of growing up in a shoes on household, it was only natural to wear them in general. But also if you had a party, as you said, like what's the biggest accessory to a nice outfit? Your shoes, man.
Them shoes.
So as you said, like if you're going into a party and for particular women, but definitely men as well, they take their appearance seriously also. Rocking a nice pair of kicks or loafers or heels or wedges or whatever it is, depending on your choice. That's a part of your outfit. Like you don't want to go there with this nice dress on.
How am I supposed to express myself?
Yeah. Like, my shoes, my choice, man.
My shoes, my choice. You know what's the worst, though? I just realized. When you open the door to a party, you're at the front door.
Oh, I know exactly what you're going to say.
And it's kind of like getting stuck. And then you got to kind of really push, Yeah. And push it over. And it's just a fucking
sea of shoes.
A sea of shoes. Yeah. And especially if it's the winter, you already know the first thing that's going to happen. You're going to take your shoes off. Immediate wet sock.
Yeah.
Party ruined. In fact, that's a point where you actually might leave. You're like, baby, we got to go.
Is it just me, or does it always seem like in those situations, it's a double door? Like you open up the first door and you're kind of leaning into it like a body check because the shoes are piling up. And then you can hear the music kind of coming from the second door and you hear, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
and you know what's behind that door. People without shoes on.
Yeah.
And it's depressing.
Everyone's in socks.
And your wet socks at that.
Everyone's in their wet socks. The party is ruined when you have wet sock. Wet sock actually is I think wet sock has ruined more parties than someone who crashed a lot of parties, man.
Well, you're better to go barefoot at that point. If I get a wet sock, I'm throwing them in the bin and then I just hope that I have my toenails clipped.
Yeah, you just cross your fingers, you didn't forget. And you know what's funny about that too is some people don't wear socks. So they're like, oh, can you take your shoes off? They're like, I'm barefoot. And then sometimes you see some awkward shit, right? The owner of the house is like, hold on 1 second. It's like that mathematical equation going through their head. And they're like, okay, I don't want the shoes on, but they have no socks on, which means they're barefoot. So which one is dirtier? Which one smells more? What am I doing here? Right?
Yeah.
What's the trade-off I'm looking for? Should I just ask them to leave? Can they come in? Should I get them a pair of socks?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, what would you rather? I mean, again, it goes back to your sort of carpet, tile, wood finish, that sort of thing. It's like, what would you rather on your floor? I mean, also the danger is if you do go in there and you notice that it's a carpet, man, there's some shit under that fiber that if you're going barefoot, you might get a little sting on the bottom of your toesy woesies, eh?
Hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just straight up get glass in your foot.
Yeah.
You're like, where'd that come from? And the carpet's just like, bruh, I'm carpet. All right.
Yeah.
I've been collecting things for time, bruh.
The little, see a bottle cap, glass, like a needle from like the mom sewing something, or like it's a dangerous game.
It's definitely a dangerous game.
And so that's the thing is if I was at a shoes off party and I got wet sock and had to remove and I was walking down the carpet and I got like a splinter like that or like had some sort of broken glass, suing them. Fuck it. You told me to take this shit off. You reap what you sow, pal. You reap what you sow.
You are now listening to the Fierce Kingz Podcast.